us to go back and view them anytime you want to. Welcome. It's the Frauds and Scams Lunch and Learn. We'll begin momentarily. Thank you for joining us today. If you are just joining us, along the bottom of the screen is the Q&A box. Click on that to open it up, and we will get to your questions and answer them as swiftly and as often as we can. Thank you for joining us for the Fraud Watch Lunch and Learns. I'm Wendy with AARP North Dakota. It is time to get this thing started, so I will turn it over now to Josh Aspig. Thanks again for showing up.
Well, first of all, Wendy, thank you for welcoming folks, and I want to thank all of our attendees today for our Frauds and Scams Lunch and Learn today. Super excited to have you here. As you know, for more than 60 years, AARP has been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans. We're continuing to do that right here in North Dakota. And by doing these events online, we safely connect and still get to share awesome information. And I am super excited about the information that we have to share with you today. However, before we get to that, as you can tell, it takes a lot of people to make these types of events happen. And AARP has always believed in fact, our founder, Dr. Ethel Percy-Andrus, founded our organization based on the fact that volunteerism and volunteers make a huge difference. And so you will see on your screen, I'm launching it right now, and it should show up on your screen. There should be a pop-up box that should have popped up about volunteering with AARP. And we're asking you if you're interested in volunteering with AARP and helping out with some of our future events that you saw rolling on the screen before we get started, that you click those that you may be interested in volunteering, in which ways. For example, if you're interested in helping us share great information via your Facebook page and sharing AARP North Dakota Facebook posts, if you're interested in introducing speakers for online events, if you're interested in greeting and welcoming people like Wendy just did a wonderful and masterful job of doing and helping folks feel welcome at our events, all of those that you see listed. Another one is to serve as a discussion leader for online events. We have some events coming on later this summer that are going to be some fun interactive events where we're going to need discussion leaders for the different events to help us out. And so I'll ask you to check that. We will provide you the training needed, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And if nothing else, you'll get to learn more about how to continue to engage with folks in an online manner while we need to continue to do so for the time being. Additionally, well, Wendy talked about that, and if you've already completed the poll and taken and recorded your choices there, Wendy did note some Zoom features, but I want to take just a couple of seconds to note them as well. If you look on the bottom of your screen, and if you don't have it, you can move your mouse, or if you're on a tablet, I think you'll have to touch the screen, and you should see a little couple of balloons that says Q&A between it. That is what we call the Q&A button. And if you click on that, there'll be a little box that opens where you'll be able to ask your questions for our presenters and or our staff behind the scenes, including technical difficulties if you're having them to do that. We are planning to address these questions, some as we go and others at the designated question and answer time when we get to it in our presentation. But don't wait to ask your questions. You can ask them at any time, so we have them ready for when we have that question and answer time. So I'm going to give you just another second to complete the poll and click any interesting opportunities you might find to volunteer with AARP. Again, having our volunteers engaged in volunteering just makes our events that much better, and we're excited to do this. While you're finishing that up, I'm super pleased to introduce our two distinguished panelists and guests today. We're going to hear from Tanya Hetzler. Tanya is an investigator with the North Dakota Attorney General Consumer Protection and Antitrust Division. And she's presented for us before, and we'll get to her in a second. And then after her, we have Adam Montgomery. Adam is an investigator and an examiner with the North Dakota Securities Department as well. I want to welcome both Tanya and Adam. Good to see you both today. with that, Tanya, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to take the poll down. And I think you have some stuff to share and you're getting ready to do that. And I see it up on the screen. For our viewers watching and participants watching, Tanya is probably a familiar face. If she's not, she's presented to wide acclaim to AARP North Dakota audiences before. As that, she's been a featured presenter for us. She's an investigator as well with the North Dakota Attorney General's office. We're super excited to have her back and eager to get an update from Tanya. Before I officially hand it off to her, I want to remind you again, if you have questions, put those in that Q&A box and we'll cover as many as we can when we get to the designated question and answer period. Tanya, I'm going to ask you to take yourself off of mute just so we can do a quick sound check before I officially hand it to you. Tanya, how are you?
Doing great, thanks.
Awesome. You're sounding loud and clear. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tanya, to share what you're seeing and hearing about frauds and scams here in North Dakota. Take it away.
All right, thank you. It's great to be back. We have a lot of information to share, so I'll get right to it. Since January, 83% of North Dakota scam victims reported to our office are 50 years or older. This age group has already reported the loss of, wait for it, $1.1 million. So hopefully the information that I'll be able to share with you today will help keep those numbers down. One of the most common scams are computer tech scams. While these scams have many variations, the outcome is the same. The person on the other end of the phone convinces you to allow them access to your computer or your phone. This scam can happen if you land on the wrong website because of a general internet search. Scammers hope that you will click on their fake site instead of the official website that you're looking for, or that you'll call their phone number believing it's the official number for companies like Apple, PayPal, Facebook, Amazon, etc. Beware, the top result of any internet search is not always the best result. In another version of this scam, you may receive a phone call, an email, or text claiming that you'll be charged an amount. We often hear $299 to auto-renew a membership such as Amazon Prime or a computer tech service unless you take an action to cancel it. Or there's a claim that there are pending charges to your account. You could be provided with a phone number to call or receive an email that provides you an option to click here to cancel. Don't call the number or click on the link. Stop and take the time to check into the matter before acting too quickly. You may receive a phone call, or if a pop-up appears on your computer claiming that your computer has been hacked and it's locked down. You're instructed to call the number on the screen to get it working again. Scammers will unlock your computer for a very high price when really all you had to do was shut the computer off and restart it again. Tech support scammers want you to believe that you have a serious problem with your computer, like a virus. They want you to pay for tech services you don't need to fix a problem that doesn't exist. Microsoft is a software company, but they do not automatically monitor your computer for viruses. Scammers just use their name to make themselves sound legitimate. Security pop-up warnings from real tech companies will not ask you to call a phone number. If your pop-up insists that you call, it's likely a scam. Never give control of your computer or your online banking account to anyone who contacts you out of the blue. Watch for TeamViewer, which is a software that scammers will often download to allow them access to your computer. Basically, if you have the feeling that something isn't right, hang up the phone and shut down your computer. If you need help fixing a problem, go to someone you know and trust. Stores that sell computer equipment often offer technical support in person. And beware of requests for a photo of your driver's license, We've been receiving several reports that computer tech scammers are asking for those photos. We can only assume that this will become more widespread. If you're asked to do this, don't. Imposter scams. It can be difficult to recognize an imposter scam due to the lies that the scammers tell. They use a variety of tricks to get your attention, whether it's distracting you with a story about money that you've won or creating a fear that there's a problem with your social security number. Government agencies and employees, law enforcement, do not ask people to send money for prizes, nor are they permitted to ask you to wire money or add money to a prepaid debit card or purchase a gift card. Currently, scammers may claim that your social security number has been compromised or linked to a crime, typically in Texas. They'll try to convince you that your benefits will be terminated or that you'll be arrested. They'll even try to convince you that you need to buy a gift card to protect your money. None of this is true. The Social Security Administration nor the IRS are going to call and threaten your arrest. Do not call the numbers back. Do not press 1, just hang up. Any official communication from the IRS or the Social Security Administration will be by mail. If you didn't enter a sweepstakes, then you didn't win a sweepstakes. If you're told that you have to pay even $1 to receive your prize, then you did not win anything. Scammers are really good at coming up with reasons as to how you were chosen as the winner. Sadly, none of those reasons are true. Don't let the thrill of a prize cloud your judgment. Never pay to claim a prize. Always be sure to verify a phone call from a loved one claiming that they are in trouble or were arrested and need money. They will beg you not to tell anyone. You'll even swear that the person on the other end of the line sounds just like your loved one, but often it's not. Do not be talked into sending money without verifying the whereabouts of your loved one. Most people feel the need to be polite and cooperate, especially on the phone. It's important to note that scammers take advantage of that inclination to be well-mannered. Don't be afraid to interrupt or hang up on a caller that is asking you for personal information, asking you to send money right away, threatens you, or tries to keep you on the phone. Scammers are not going to take no for an answer as long as you stay on the line, so just hang up. Romance scams continue to be an issue, and the pandemic has not helped. Being isolated has led people of all ages to be online more than ever. Romance scammers, both male and female, create fake profiles on dating sites and apps or contact their victims through popular social media sites. They use photos of other people, even stolen pictures of real military personnel. The scammers strike up a relationship with their victim to build their trust. They groom them, sometimes talking or chatting several times a day. Then eventually they make up a story and ask for money. These scammers often say that they're living or traveling outside of the United States. They may claim that they are working on an oil rig, in the military, or a doctor with an international organization. We've heard about romance scammers asking their victims for money to buy a plane ticket or other travel expenses, pay for medical bills, pay customs fees to retrieve something, usually money, or pay for a visa or travel documents. Many claim that they lost access to their funds in the United States, which is why they need to borrow money. Never wire money, buy a gift card, or send cash to a love interest, because you won't get it back. Online shopping. Beware of ads on social media. These ads cover a broad spectrum of complaints that we've received from tools to trendy clothing to kids' toys. The advertisements look good and the products are often inexpensive, which means that consumers purchase without doing any research about the website or the company behind it. Then weeks pass and the product never arrives. Or if the product arrives, it is nothing like what it was advertised, or it could be coming from outside of the United States. When the buyers reach out to customer service, they often get a vague answer or they don't hear back at all. Just because it's advertised on Facebook or Instagram does not mean it's legitimate. The source of the ad should not influence your trust in the ad. Ask yourself, is the price of the item too good to be true? Then it probably is. Before buying, do a quick online search. Search the website name with the words complaints, reviews, and scam to see what other customers are saying. Check the About Us or Contact Us information on the company's website to see if they actually contain contact information for the business. If the only way to contact the company is through a form or via email, proceed with caution. Review the privacy policy, the terms and conditions, and the return policy. These things can tell you a lot about a website. You may even find that the company is not located in the United States. And use a credit card, not a debit card, as it is easier to dispute a charge on a credit card. Free trial offers. Resist the urge of these offers. These online offers, often in the form of pop-ups, are typically associated with health and beauty products. Some ads often include false claims of celebrity endorsements, such as Shark Tank or Joanna Gaines, Ellen, Dr. Oz, and even Oprah. You provide your credit card number to pay for the shipping and handling to receive these products. It's important to know that free trial does not mean sample or trial size. You'll receive a full-size portion of their product to try for a specified period of time, typically 14 to 30 days. However, if you don't cancel within that trial period, the company will charge your credit card for the full amount of the product. The terms and conditions are often agreed to when you click on the submit button, or there may be a box that you must check that indicates that you are agreeing to the terms and conditions of the offer. Canceling these trials can be very difficult. Many imposter scams require payment with gift cards. Someone might call you and claim that your social security number has been compromised or threaten arrest. The caller might say that he's from tech support, asking for money to fix your computer. The caller may even say she's a family member with an emergency and needs money right now. Regardless of the claim, these scams all have one thing in common: an urgent need for you to send money right away. Victims are often told to put money on a gift card. Here's what happens. The scammer will tell you to go to buy a popular gift card such as iTunes, Google Play, or Steam. The scammer will tell you to go to a particular store, often Walmart, Target, Dollar General, or CVS. They may even tell you to buy cards at different stores. Sometimes the caller may stay on the phone with you while you go into the store. They will also tell you what to say if a store employee asks you about your purchase. Once you buy the card, the scammer will demand the number and PIN on the card. Those numbers allow them immediate access to the money you loaded onto the card. And once they've done that, the scammers and your money are gone, usually without a trace. Gift cards are for gifts, not payments. Typically, the method of payment is the easiest way to identify a scam. Scammers use these forms of payments because they are untraceable. Once the money is sent, it's gone. Plain and simple, anyone who demands payment by a gift card is always a scammer. A legitimate company or agency would never accept payment in the form of a gift card. Remember, gift cards are for gifts, not payments. Scammers often instruct their victims to wire money. Once the money is picked up, it's gone. There is no protection for the sender. We frequently learn that victims have mailed large amounts of cash. Often the cash is placed between the pages of a book or magazine or wrapped in a piece of clothing. A legitimate entity would never have somebody pay by sending cash in the mail. Be very cautious if somebody wants you to use Bitcoin as a form of payment. There are many Bitcoin machines located throughout North Dakota, and the scammers know where they are, so they'll tell you exactly where to go. The scammers will stay on the phone with you and provide step-by-step instructions on how to make the transaction. Again, don't allow remote access to your devices. Many victims describe feeling trapped, not knowing what to do, so they just do what they're told. Some have even described it as it's like being in a trance. If you find yourself in that situation, hang up. End the communication with whoever you're speaking to. Many scammers tell their victims to lie. If you are questioned by a store clerk or a bank employee, don't lie. Use that opportunity to ask for help. The bottom line is that scammers will say and do anything to perpetrate a scam. It doesn't bother them one bit that they are stealing people's life savings. For as much as we wish that they would get a real job, they don't have to as long as they can continue to find victims. So what can you do to avoid being scammed? If you're on the phone, hang up. Nothing bad is going to happen. You will not be arrested. In fact, law enforcement typically does not call people before they make an arrest. Always remember that you have the control when on the phone. You are not obligated to be nice or to stay on the line. Check it out. Do you really know who's behind it? They may not be who they say they are. Check it out before you do anything. It's often too late to do anything about it after the money is sent. By the way, Publishers Clearinghouse does not call its winners, so you have not won their sweepstakes. And that Facebook message from one of your friends claiming to be they received money, and you can too, it's not really from your friend. Don't be in a hurry. You might be told to act now or give money or personal information. Resist the pressure to act immediately. Stop and talk about it, especially if they tell you not to. If you're told not to tell, that means you should absolutely tell someone. Talk to someone you trust before you do anything to avoid being scammed. Knowing the payment methods that I discussed in the previous slide should help you avoid a scam. And trust your intuition. In other words, trust your gut. If it doesn't seem right, then don't do it. Especially if you find yourself asking them, is this a scam? You've basically just answered your own question. A scammer is never going to admit that they're a scammer. Asking that question allows the opportunity to come up with more lies to convince you why it's not a scam. And never say never. Believe me, we have heard it all, and scams can happen to anyone. Always remember that if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Many victims are promised that the money they send will be returned to them, so they convince themselves that it is worth the risk. However, many victims don't think about what they will do if they do not get the money back. I cannot stress enough how important it is to check things out before relying on the representations of a phone call, an email, a mailing, an advertisement. Let's face it, scams are everywhere. I hope everyone has learned something new today. I encourage you to share the information that you've learned with others, including your kids and grandkids. Consumer education is one of the most important and effective methods to combat these horrific scams. And thank you to AARP for letting us be a part of this event.
Tanya, fabulous information and some excellent insights on what's happening right here in North Dakota. I noted, and you can flag it for later, that you noted 1.1 million was lost. I'll ask you later what the time period was. And it's a good reminder for those of you, as you heard Tanya's presentation, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We will get to them in a little bit. But I first want to, again, thank you, Tanya, for being here. Thank you for sharing your excellent information. And I'm going to make sure we get all of the information so your questions might be answered by part of Adam's presentation here as well. And we're going to transition to Adam Montgomery. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this is a great partnership we have with both the Attorney General's office and the Securities office. You know, there's multiple forms and ways of fraud and scams happening. So it's great that we get to hear from the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division, as Tanya, and now we get to hear from Adam Montgomery with the North Dakota Securities Department. Adam, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with Tanya, and I'm going to just make sure your mute is off and do a quick sound check. So how are you, Adam?
Thank you, Josh. I am well. How are you?
You are sounding fantastic and fabulous, which means I am wonderful as well, because I don't have to try and deliver your presentation as part of it. So with that, thanks again, Adam, for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to Adam to get going.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. And on behalf of Commissioner Tyler and the entire North Dakota Securities Department, thank you for having us today. This is going to be a good time. Afternoon, everyone. My name is Adam Montgomery. I am an investigator with the North Dakota Securities Department. I'm actually just going to put my video down there. All right. In addition, I also serve as the community outreach and education contact for the department. To begin today, a little self-deprecating humor. The Securities Department is not in charge of the protection of the governor or the Capitol building. We get that a lot. But rather, the department was created by statute known as the Securities Act of 1951, and it's codified in the North Dakota Century Code at Chapter 1004. The mission of our department is to protect the North Dakota investor through the administration of state securities laws and rules. The department specifically serves the North Dakota investor in three primary areas. 1, financial education, 2, protection, and 3, economic development. Today, I will briefly touch on these areas with a little specificity. Financial education. Knowing how to invest your money is important, regardless of age, but arguably the earlier, the better. Being an informed investor means having a plan and understanding each of your investments. The Securities Department is a resource for investors to learn about investing wisely, avoiding fraud, and knowing your rights as an investor. To achieve this end, the department hosts a variety of educational programs for youth, including investor education that is fun and useful for young people just learning about money. And much like today's event, the department continues to join outreach and educational events to promote our mission and ensure investors are both aware and utilizing the resources of your tax dollars to promote safe investing in North Dakota. Protection. By statute, the North Dakota Securities Department is a state regulator. Under North Dakota Securities Act, all securities sold in the state must be registered with the department or properly exempted from registration. Now, an example of this would be an investment primarily regulated by the Securities and Exchanges Commission, or the SEC. In addition, the Act also mandates all persons who propose to sell securities and offer investment advice must be properly registered in order to conduct business in this state. Now, as a state regulator, these entities, persons, and investments are all subject to review, approval, and auditing by the North Dakota Securities Department. Some examinations are routine and scheduled. This ensures compliance with regulatory requirements and provides routine oversight. Now, some examinations are not scheduled. These kinds of exams could be the result of a complaint from an investor, maybe some current events, things in the news, or based on an investigation from our office or another state agency. Securities Department is also responsible for the enforcement of securities laws of North Dakota. We are responsible for protecting citizens from dishonest investment practices and regulating the people and companies that are offering investment opportunities. Securities Department takes investment fraud very seriously and works diligently to prevent it. We investigate hundreds of complaints every year and have helped many North Dakotans recover money from fraudulent schemes. Now, we also work with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to bring promoters of fraud to justice. If someone provides you with the too good to be true investment opportunity, it usually is too good to be true, and that person may be trying to con you. Or if you believe any part of a transaction is misrepresented, contact our department immediately to obtain information on filing a complaint. Now, I'll go off script here for a quick second. We also are updating our website and we are set to go live any day now, but you can also file an investor complaint on our website that'll come directly to us and someone from our office will be in touch with you. Generally, all firms and individuals who sell securities as part of their business or who charge fees for providing investment advice in the state of North Dakota must be registered with this department. Not every firm or individual is granted an automatic registration. If the department determines a firm or an individual does not have a good business reputation and has had considerable complaints, we will not register them in North Dakota. North Dakota citizens are encouraged to contact our department to verify registration before doing business with firms, agents, or an investment advisor. We can also provide information regarding disciplinary and registration history. Individuals may also check an agent's registration on their own by accessing the Financial Industry Regulatory Authorities broker check. This is a link that we have on our webpage, or you can simply do a Google search for Financial Industry Regulatory Authority broker check. Great resource. And finally, economic development. One of the priorities that our commissioner has made to ensure the department acts as a resource for startups and other business ventures that seek capital for their business, these are investments. As a fresh entrepreneur, it's easy to focus on the business and neglect the regulatory requirements that may hinder or actually stop the furtherance of a business venture. Now, I can assure you, this is the last thing our department wants to do. This can be evidenced by our new Fargo location on the campus of North Dakota State University. As a satellite office, the department can now act as a resource for what the state has seen as an entrepreneurial boom in the eastern part of the state. The highlight to this is if a business is seeking capital and investors, they must be registered with the North Dakota Securities Department. If you have been approached to contribute to a business financially, please ask the business representative to see, read, and understand their investor prospectus. This will tell you everything about the business, including the financial risks that have been identified on the venture. Ensuring the compliance on the front end will save a lot of time and agony on the back end. North Dakota is one of 15 states that require a registration of franchise offerings. Before you offer or sell a franchise in North Dakota or to any North Dakota resident, you must first register your franchise offering with the Securities Department. These are McDonald's, Hardee's, any big box store that has a franchise component to it needs to be registered with our department. All franchise filings must be prepared under the North Dakota Century Code and franchise investment laws. So, in the interest of such a business, please contact us and we'd be happy to help. Now, a hot topic as of late, cryptocurrencies. What is cryptocurrency? Well, according to one online source, a cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency that is secured by a cryptography, which makes it nearly impossible to counterfeit or double spend. Many cryptocurrencies are decentralized networks based on blockchain technology, which is a distributed ledger enforced by a disparate network of computers. A defining feature of cryptocurrencies is that they're generally not issued by any central authority, rendering them theoretically immune to government interference or manipulation. Okay, so what does that mean? This is something that people are taking physical, actual money, American dollars that are centralized with the Federal Reserve and generally secured with things like FDIC in a financial institution, and putting it in a decentralized, unregulated entity that really we're just starting to understand what it is. Now, we get this a lot. Does someone invest in crypto? Well, no. Under North Dakota law, crypto is not an investment and is not currently regulated by the Securities Department. Again, it's not regulated by anyone or anything. So, how does someone acquire crypto? Well, cryptocurrency can be purchased through what are called crypto exchanges or an application on your phone or an app. Major financial institutions may also have opportunities or means to purchase crypto. But from what we're seeing, your local small town bank generally will not or advised that they cannot. So that leads to the question of, can I buy crypto in North Dakota? Well, the simple answer is yes. Any North Dakota citizen can purchase cryptocurrency. One of the things that has really gotten skewed is we need to be abundantly clear. This is a new product. This is something that is not regulated by anyone or anything. And therefore, that also means there is no state law that prohibits the sale of cryptocurrency. So, with that said, this office does not endorse nor does it promote, but is fully aware that this is an opportunity that some people might be interested in. And if that is the case, we encourage anyone to please seek out our help. We are free to answer any questions we possibly can. And if we cannot, we will find the people that can. To compliment Tanya, who set this up perfectly for us, most complaints that we see are in the area of scams. We've seen absolutely the same things that the Attorney General's office has seen. The only difference being we're not seeing the money leaving the actual bank accounts. We see people liquidating sound investments with long-time trusted professionals that turn around and then ship money off somewhere that they believe might be some sort of romantic connection or a business venture, to just find out later that once we track it down, that money might still be in the country, but most often has left the United States. Tanya mentioned a number of scams that we see the same thing, but common or known scams as far as investments are concerned are all listed on the NASA website. This is a chief primary area for information sharing on investments, and we encourage anyone to use that website for knowledge and additional information. So again, much like with Tanya said, what do you have to do? You have to know the product you are investing in. I mentioned briefly about a investor prospectus. Now, this is generally a file that will give someone an idea of what is this business venture that I would be attributing to? What are the risks? You are required to receive a disclosure at the time of any investment that articulates what are you actually putting your money into? What are the risks? And so many people hear that pitch of this is too good to be true. Act now. This is time sensitive. But you miss the primary first steps of knowing what you are investing in. And this is how the scammers get us into things. So when you see an offering, you need to research the person. You need to research the offering. The best way that we can prevent fraud is with education. And because of that, the North Dakota Securities Department is a resource. If you are pitched with, hey, I have this investment idea, I'd like to pitch it to you, take the lunch, take the phone call. But once that money is gone, it's gone. So what do? Get as much information about an investment opportunity as possible, then turn around and call us. We will be able to help you. Why? Because once again, these people have to be registered with the state. Their products, their ideas have to be registered with the state. If you call and we look it up and we have nothing on record, chances are it's a scam. We want to protect the citizens of North Dakota in any way we possibly can. And this is the single greatest way of doing it, just by contacting us and using us as a resource. And not even just if you have specific questions, maybe they're more general. We are welcomed and open and willing to talk to anybody with any questions that you might have. Again, what should you do? Be an active investor. Keep track of your investments. How much money do you have where? Are you getting statements? Another big clue to a scam is if you're not getting statements on what your money is doing for you, chances are it is a scam, and contact us. And stay alert to investment fraud warning signs. Much like Tanya said, I had the IRS call me twice this week, and I'm looking at being arrested. No, I'm not. I'm a government employee. They'd be able to find me if they had to. But these are the things that you have to be aware of. And regardless of age, regardless of background, professionalism, education, scams hit everybody in a certain way, and nobody is completely safe. But the key is the more you know, the smarter you are, and the safer you and your money are. So in conclusion, here's some contact information for us. Website, our toll-free number, and our direct office line to speak to any one of us about any opportunity, or maybe even you. Maybe you have an idea for something and you're seeking venture capital or want some investors. We can help you with that too. Maybe you want to start a McDonald's. We can certainly help with that as well. But there is our information. We'd be happy to help and speak to you anytime. With that, I will turn it back over to Josh.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate your presentation and good information, and do that. I'm going to ask Tanya to come back as well. Tanya, are you there? Able to come back?
I am.
Perfect. So we currently don't have any Q&A in the Q&A box. So this is my call to those of you watching, and I know you're out there, to put your questions and answers in the Q&A box to get that. But in the meantime, I've thought of a couple to maybe get people's brains whirring and going. And I'm going to start with you, Tanya, in one thing you said, and I kind of prompted this as we transition from you to Adam. You'd mentioned earlier in your presentation that 1.1 million, I believe, is the number, was lost to frauds and scams in North Dakota. What was the time period of that 1.1 million?
Just since January 1st of 2021.
So just within the last 4.5 months, already 1.1 million in North Dakota. Wow, that's incredible.
And I'll say there's more, but I pulled the statistics for the age group 50 and older.
Wow.
So that's just for the AARP membership range.
And that's why it's so important to continue to remain vigilant and be vigilant. That I'm going to pop over to you, Adam. I have one for you as well. And again, for those of you watching, we're going to have to wind up here in not too long. So if you got questions, get them in the Q&A box. We'll get them to Tanya and Adam. Adam, you talked about a couple of websites. You talked about, I believe it was BrokerCheck. And let's just start with that one. So tell us again, what is BrokerCheck? How do they find it? And what will that do for them?
BrokerCheck is, as I'm pulling it up here so I can make sure I get the actual address for you. So brokercheck.finra, FINRA.org. Now, this is kind of almost think of it like Google, but for investment advisors. If you have a current investment advisor, pop in their name, everything will pull up. How long they've been there, who they've been with, certifications, education, anything that might be a black mark on their record, like complaints or bankruptcies, things that someone who, if you are giving money to, you're probably going to want to know.
Awesome. And then the second one is, you mentioned NASA, and we've been hearing a lot about space exploration lately. So I know that's not what you were talking about, but I want to make sure that you clarify. You'd mentioned NASA as a site where it sounds like a lot of the frauds and scams you investigate get reported. Can you just tell us maybe a little bit more about that and why it might be important for consumers?
Yes, NASA, the North American Securities Administrators Association. And so this is a group of people that every state is a part of, also Canada and Mexico, and they really work as like a union. And it's a way to share informations and trainings and just really what's happening in the world of investments. Has some great information on scams, investor education. So maybe if you're kind of curious about a certain area, cryptocurrency, this would be a great resource as well.
Awesome. And we're getting questions. I knew we would get them. Just take a second for folks to find that Q&A button. And if you haven't found it yet, it should be right on the bottom of your screen, and do that. I'm going to jump to the first question we have here. And I'm not sure if this is for you, Adam, or you, Tanya. So I'll let you guys decide who wants to jump in. The question is, are there any current scams related to credit scores decreasing?
Well, I can jump in from the perspective of if your credit score is decreasing, then it's time to rule out or determine if you might be an identity theft victim. So if there is negative information being reported, then that could decrease the credit score. So you really need to pull all the credit reports so that you can determine whether or not there have been unauthorized accounts opened using your identity. And any questions regarding identity theft, we are welcome to visit with you about that. Any concerns about compromised information or what to do if you are an identity theft victim.
Adam, anything to add?
Tanya nailed it, and I have to defer to her. She's the expert in that area.
Excellent. The next one is what do we know? What do we know about celebrity scams? And I'm guessing this is for you as well, Tanya. So what can you tell us about celebrity scams? Have you heard of them? Sounds like somebody's maybe heard something about it. So.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of without further clarification, I guess, are those ads where the products maybe some type of health and beauty, some cream or application or pills of some sort that might do a cleanse or something like that, would be supposedly promoted by a celebrity. And those celebrities are not in any way affiliated with the products that are being marketed. Basically, they are a victim as well because their name is being used without their permission.
Gotcha. The next one I'm going to jump to is about they're getting a text from someone that's posing as Amazon and saying they're going to get a $500 gift card. They're wondering if they should report it somewhere.
Sure, those things can always be reported to our office. It's definitely a scam. Amazon isn't certainly going to text you directly. So yeah, those are the things that our office likes to know about, because we can then use that information to educate the public.
Tony, do you have any other tips on that related? I mean, this happens to me. I don't want to say frequently, and I'm sure it happens to some of our listeners every once in a while too. They'll get a text from a number they don't know. It's click here to, see this card I got for you, or, some of those types of things. Any tips, tools, ways? Are there ways to block those texts? Anything you can provide in that realm?
Well, depending on the phone and the service provider, of course, there are, maybe apps that you can download, but then there's a risk of that as well, because you never know about the applications and what you might be getting into at that point. The thing is, I guess from even a personal perspective, since I get them as well, is just resist that urge of whether it be excitement or pure panic to click on it without trying to verify the source or without thinking it through first. But as far as being able to stop all of them, that it's tough. Like I said, there are services available, but then finding the right one can be tricky.
And so I'll say it too. We've always talked about, if you get the phone call, just hang up or don't even answer it. With text messages, it would be just delete it if you don't,
Right.
that, and don't click on those links unless you know who's sending it, doing it as well. So a couple other things I want to get to. Adam, I want to jump to you. You talked a little bit about cryptocurrency in your presentation. How much of that are you hearing about in North Dakota? Is it prevalent, and are you seeing any types of scams related to cryptocurrency in the securities office?
We don't have any formal complaints at this time. We have received a couple of calls, specifically now that the legislative session is done. The session really didn't address crypto this time, and so it's a little ambiguous. One call that I took about a week ago was just someone looking to find out how to do it. So we are aware that there are scams out there, but we don't have any official complaints into our office regarding it. But much like wiring money, I would caution anyone. It's not an investment. We don't see it that way. So when you are moving actual physical regulated currency into something that is volatile, you do run a risk. And I believe it's probably just an amount of time until we do hear more scams and things that are happening, because it's like wiring money, right? You take it from one place, you put it through a system, it goes to another, and then it's gone.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Adam. Appreciate it. Tanya, there's a question here about a fraud alert on your credit report or whatnot. Can you just talk a little bit about credit reports and credit freezes and a little bit about that? I know you've talked about that in other presentations, but I think it'd be helpful for folks watching or listening to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. So at any point that somebody believes that their personal information has been compromised, and honestly, you don't even, as far as I know, you don't need a reason because the credit bureaus don't ask, but you can place a fraud alert on your credit reports. You can place it by contacting one of the credit reporting agencies by phone. You report it to one credit reporting agency and they will tell the other two. So for a year after you place the fraud alert, it will appear on your credit report. And how it works is if your credit report is pulled for the purpose of approving a new account or service, then that entity who pulled the credit report will see that there is a fraud alert and a phone number that you would provide when you place the alert. That is to prompt the entity to call you and verify whether you are the person that's applying for that account. So it could potentially stop a fraudulent account from occurring. So that's a step to take, like I said, if you feel it's compromised, and just that added level of protection. Another option you have is to freeze your credit reports. And the difference is that when you freeze the credit reports, it doesn't freeze any accounts that you currently have open. But what it does is, in that scenario where somebody applies for let's say a new credit card, and the credit card company goes to pull your credit report, they won't be able to access it because it will be frozen. So that could stop that fraudulent account in its tracks at that point if it can't get authorized because the credit report can't be pulled. The only thing that people need to know about that freeze, and what becomes somewhat problematic, is that it is frozen. So if you need to have your credit pulled for a specific purpose, you will have to lift the freeze in order to have that entity pull that credit report. So if you're going to buy a car, you'll have to lift it so that the dealership can pull the credit report. And the freeze is in place until you lift it. So it doesn't have that 1 year time frame on it. So those are typically the two options that anyone, whether they're the victim of identity theft or not, has. And we have information on our website about the fraud alert, the security freeze or credit freeze, and how to get your free credit reports.
Awesome. We are running quickly out of time, so I want to do a couple of things. First of all, the websites that Adam mentioned were put in the chat to all of the attendees, so you can find them there. And for those of you that wanted to potentially report something to the Attorney General Consumer Protection Division office, that contact information is also in the chat. And if you can always go back and watch this, a replay of this on the AARP North Dakota YouTube page. It is being posted there for folks to go back and watch as well. And I know they both shared their contact information in their presentations. Tanya and Adam, I wish we had about another hour, because I know we would continue to get questions and talk through things. If I took away anything today, it's Tanya, your statement about gift cards are for gifts, not for payments. We've had a big push on that with ARP here in North Dakota nationally as well. And Adam, make sure you know who it is you're investing with and check them out before we do that. So thank you both so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And again, I mentioned this as well, and wanted to remind you that this program was streamed live to YouTube, so you can always go back. And of course, my dogs would bark right as this happens. But if you want to, you can always find our upcoming events at arp.org/ND events. Thank you again for being here today. I want to give a huge shout out to my team, Doreen, Lyle, Wendy, Janelle. They appreciate it. With that, I'm going to hop off so you don't have to listen to a barking